What is going on, everyone? This is Miles Dompier, and welcome to the 108th episode of Xbox Chaturdays. Today, I am stoked to be joined once again by host of Primetime Gaming, Xvlog Live, and 50 other shows you watch every single week, Mr. Boomstick XL. How you doing on this beautiful Saturday?
Yes, brother, I am so glad to be here. We're talking Street Fighter, we're talking Diablo, we're talking Fable. And yes, I do have 5 shows a week. People don't understand how I have time for real life and gaming, but I figured it out, folks. And I've even thrown in 60 minutes of Pilates each and every day to keep the old man body a little bit better. But listen, Miles, thanks so much for the invite. I can't wait to get into it, man. We're going to get into some of the negative Nancy's, as you call it, talking about Fable and potentially some Xbox showcase, extravaganza news. But thanks so much for the invite, dude. It's awesome to be here.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before we talk about the show topics, I do want to give you a shout out because I've seen you sharing the update pics on social media. You've been, out there putting some work in, working on the bod, working on yourself. And, it's important. It's hard to find time amongst work and everything else. So I'm happy that despite doing 5 shows a week, despite everything going on in your life, you're taking that 60 minutes a day and you're putting in the work. So keep it up, man. Proud of you.
I appreciate it. It's very kind of you to say, yeah, you know what? Once I figured out a way to get it in there either before or after the show, things are moving better than I've ever moved in a very, very long time. So, obviously we want to keep, there is something to be said about doing 5 shows a week. And it never really dawned on me until people started asking, how do you do that? And I'm like, I love gaming so much that it just becomes like second nature.
Yeah, you just get in that routine. You just want to talk about video games. There was a period of time where I was saying yes to every single podcast guest appearance. Just, hey, you want to be on? Yeah. And then I would do like 5 or 6 in a week on the other side. I'm like, man, that's a lot. That's a lot of podcast time in a single week. So yeah, huge shout out to you for doing that and having that 5 day a week schedule of podcasts and gaming talk. But yeah, a lot of people are here for it. You have a great community. You're someone who always gives back to the community, which is why I'm excited and why I always reach out to you to come on the show because yeah, a big part of who you are and why people connect with what you do is, you're just a very lovable, giving guy. So I'm excited to have you on.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah, listen, it's always great to be here. Love to see what you've done with the community. Obviously, you did a major turn on how Xbox Chaturdays was being produced, and you've seen significant growth, and it's incredibly well deserved.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Want to give a huge shout out to everyone who tuned in last week for the official Xbox Game Showcase predictions episode with Randall Thor 19, which was
better to have it than Randall Thor.
I love Rand a lot, and that was the biggest episode that we've done of Xbox Chaturdays on this channel since we've transitioned from Windows Central Gaming to youtube.com/Miles Dompier. So again, a lot of it is getting the word out, letting people know the show still exists and it exists over here now. So appreciate everyone who's thrown down some support. But like you said, we're going to be talking about Fable, the potential teases from Xbox. We're going to be talking about Diablo 4. We're going to be talking about Street Fighter 6. We're going to be talking about the Ubisoft Forward and what it means for the publisher. We're going to be talking about our hopes and dreams and wild expectations for the Xbox Game Showcase. But before we do all of that, for the folks who maybe don't know, give these lovely Xbox Chaturdays community members a breakdown of who you are and where they can find you.
Okay, easy enough. Mr. Boomstick XL on Twitter. I think I am up to, 147,000 tweets since 2014.
Oh, man.
I tweet every day, and I love it because it's interaction. It's what I did as a police officer. I was community affairs, and I have just transitioned that into video games. So here I am, and I like to be a big part of the video game conversation. My YouTube channel is closing in on 13,000 subscribers, which is awesome. Listen, you can find it. That's Double Barrel Gaming on YouTube. I do 5 shows a week, Monday through Friday. All great content, all different panels, all different shows, but never negative or hate mongering content to sell the brand. It's always fun. It's always positive. And we have taken a quote unquote grassroots way of not selling out for subs. You either like the content and it's awesome and you join us each and every week, 5 days a week, or you go to someone else's channel and that's perfectly fine as well.
Yeah, and that's huge. That's what this community is about, and why so many people rally behind what you're doing is it's about talking about video games first and foremost, and that is
Yes.
what's most
And then
important.
some way and trying to find some time to play them.
Oh, the eternal battle, especially
Uh,
right now, this year, this time where it's just massive game after massive game. I'm still drowning in Tears of the Kingdom, trying to play Street Fighter 6, trying to play Diablo 4, trying to look at what's coming in the next few months, looking at the Xbox Game Showcase, the event season. Everything is happening at the same time, and I just can't handle it, bro. It's too much. But like you said, similar to your show, we have fun on Xbox Chaturdays. We're going to have some fun today. We're going to have a lot of fun, and that's going to be the focus of today's show. Because like you said, there's been some pessimism. There's some negative topics we could dive into this week, but I kept the show fun. Pretty much
yeah.
every topic today is going to be fun, and we're going to have a good damn time. Some quick housekeeping before we get into the show proper. If you haven't, Xbox Chaturdays has a little booming Discord. If you want to jump in there, have some conversations outside of the show proper, there's a link in the description. Xbox Chaturdays also has a merch store. You can get yourself a sick death metal themed Xbox Chaturdays shirt. Super happy about that design. And, this is a newer channel, but we just passed 2,000 subscribers. So I set a goal for May to reach 2,000. We smashed through that. So huge shout out to all the new subscribers, everyone who supports the channel. Now we're on to 5,000. That's the next milestone. 5,000 subs. I don't have a
Gotta
time
set
frame for
goals,
that,
Miles.
but yeah, I'm not good about the smash that like button, gamers. Subscribe to the channel. But if you're here having a good time, if you're new to the show, do those things. Let's have some fun. Let's keep it going. Appreciate all the returning faces. I see Yodani in the chat. I see Wolf of Darkness, Space, Dovahkiin, Anthony. A lot of amazing people that are here, hanging out, having fun every week. Some member shout-outs. Extra special shout-outs to the people throwing down money to support this channel. In the supporter tier, we have Huffy Bear CH, Sinful Sadie TTV, Gold Shell WPR, Christopher Davis, Buddy McClure, Rachel, Derek Griffin Jones, V Simcoe, Anthony, and last but certainly not least, my mom. In the loyalist tier, we have John Grasula, Patrick, Nick W, and Assassin. And an extra special shout out to the producers, Matt Valdez, Yo Donnie Quazada, Hargi Chani, and Mr. Joanna Dark. All right, boom. First thing I want to do this week, outside of Diablo 4 and outside of Street Fighter 6, because we're going to be diving into those thoroughly, I want to know what games you've been loving lately. What games have you been playing with that have put a smile on your face?
Easy enough. I mean, that's Tears of the Kingdom has my heart and soul. It is just a phenomenal game. It is designed in a way that just really uh anyone that is an explorer, and what I mean by that in gaming is there are people that play a game and they streamline through the game and that's how they have fun. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's awesome and it's amazing. I'm a map guy. I like taking the look at the map and I like saying, what's all the way in the corner over there? And I go and I investigate and the one thing that this game rewards is discoverability. Even at 720p, even with pop-in, even with flickering, it's just something about the magic of Nintendo that even though, yes, I'd love it to play at 60. Yes, I would love to be in 4K. But that's not what it is. And you know something? I'm not making excuses for it. But I think the paramount aspect of the conversation, Miles, is every time I pick up the controller, it brings a smile to my face. And, on the other side of that coin is something as small and amazing as Planet of Lana. I'm about to go through, I didn't run through it. I know a lot of people like beat it in 3 hours, kind of taking my time. I'm at the end now. What an amazing, beautiful game that literally has little to no voice or conversation between characters at all. It has an endearing cat thing that follows you around. Some people are saying it's a dog. To me, it looks like a cat. It jumps here, it jumps there. Whenever you get it killed, you're devastated. I know I am personally. Um, so that's really what has my time. I have Street Fighter. I have Diablo 4. I bought both extreme editions as I normally do. And we'll get into it, but like it's like I said, at every given chance that I have, like even right before I snuck in about 20 minutes of Tears of the Kingdom. I just found the village with the bird people, and I just helped someone unblock a cave, and I felt like an accomplished link. So then I stopped.
That's the beauty of Tears of the Kingdom. And I know this is an Xbox show, and I know there's people who don't have a Switch or don't really want to hear about Nintendo games, but you touched on this, and what makes Tears of the Kingdom so special is that it's gameplay and freedom above all else.
Yeah.
The mantra of Sea of Thieves is tools, not rules, but Tears of the Kingdom is that fundamentally. You can see an object in the distance, you can see a landmark in the distance, and how you get there is going to be different for every single person. Whether you're building a rocket ship, whether you're building a car, whether you're attaching, you can attach a minecart to your shield and then throw that shield underneath you while you jump in the air and use it as a skateboard. And
Yeah.
you can go down hills, and then you can grind on rails with this makeshift skateboard. So there's so many physics and mechanics in this game that lets you do almost anything, whatever you want to do or however you want to play. The fusion system where you're combining different weapons together, you're
Yeah.
attaching an arm to a stick or a spoon to a spear, and it's that sort of freedom that just makes it fun, even though it's maybe not necessarily effective. It's not the meta in terms of what's going to do the most damage or be the most effective tool. They still let you do it. You can attach a mushroom to an arrow and just shoot a goblin and then just bounce. It doesn't do any
Yeah.
damage. It just bounces them away. And it's those subtle little systems that really make the experience so great. And yeah, even despite stuff like Street Fighter 6 dominating my time and Diablo 4 dominating my time, I'm still thinking about, when I can properly go back to Tears of the Kingdom, or like you, sneak in 30 minutes to an hour before bed or whatever it is to just get lost in that world. Because you can just open it up and you can just walk in a direction and have your own adventure. It doesn't even have to be as part of a quest. And that loop to me is just it's so good, so satisfying.
Yeah.
So yeah, Tears of the Kingdom, phenomenal game. It's going to be, I know we're going to talk more about Diablo 4 and people's, thoughts that could be game of the year, but it's gonna be a hard fought battle for game of the year, and it's gonna be a hard
Oh,
fought battle
this
to
is gonna be a big year for that. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
depending on who you ask, Star Wars, Jedi Survivor is like right at the top of the list for a lot of people, even though it had some bugs, right? It had it made me stop playing because of the bugs, but I'll get back to that eventually. That's another one. Um, Obviously, Starfield is going to be a life eater when that comes out later this
Mm-hmm.
year.
Yep.
It's yeah, Hellblade 2, rumored to potentially be in the fall, being announced maybe either at Keeley's show, which would, is next week, which is possible, or obviously Microsoft saves it for their own show, which would be good too. There's just so many games. There is just so many games. Not enough times, and certainly not enough hands to play the games. That's for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. No shortage of games. Unfortunately, a genuine shortage of time, which is the fundamental problem we're all running into. Time and money, because let's be real.
Yeah.
Street Fighter 6 and Diablo 4 hitting the same day, for some folks, that's an expensive day in video games, especially
It
if you're
is.
Mr. Boomstick throwing down for the ultra editions like a baller out here. Yeah, it's a great time to play video games. This year has been an amazing year. Want to give a quick shout out to everyone who is tuning in live. If you're digging the show, hit the like button, share it out. I'm going to get this to a couple super chats here. First up, we got Jacob Novik, who says, before I write those spicy questions, I just want to say, boom, I ordered the book. Can't wait.
That's awesome. What he's talking about, if people didn't know, my sister, well, she's my sister-in-law, it's Josie's sister, but she's like my older sister. I love her very much. She published her first book, her
Yeah.
first children's book, and Sean Labrie, who is a art genius, made a commercial. And when we first saw it, my wife and I, we honestly couldn't believe it. Like on the first take, Miles, it was perfect. And obviously, it was a belated Mother's Day gift for Josie's sister, and she loved it. And it's just The support from the community has been amazing. So a big thank you to anyone that did buy the book. I truly appreciate that.
Yeah, that's if you have a link for the folks interested in watching, feel free to drop that in the chat. I'd love
Oh
to
yes,
help spread
yes.
the
I
word for that.
I,
Uh,
I appreciate that very much. Yes, I'll
and
do that in a minute. Obviously we're here for you, brother. So we want to
oh
make sure
yeah, yeah.
that we put Xbox Chaturdays front and center.
We're all in this together. And again, a huge shout out to Sean Labrie, who does amazing work, does a lot of stuff for the community. All of the Xbox Chaturdays avatars, all of the amazing characters for folks like Boom, myself, all of the guests is done by Sean Labrie. So I owe him a lot. He does a lot for the show, and he's just an all around awesome dude, awesome, incredibly talented individual. So yeah, shout out to Sean Labrie for continuing to somehow find time to do all these projects. I don't know how he does it, but kudos to that man for getting it done.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk about Street Fighter 6 because man, oh man, Capcom has been on such a hot streak. Everything they
Yeah.
touch lately has just been gold. Ignoring Ariverse. Don't bring up Ariverse. But outside of Ariverse, every other Capcom project has been just incredible. They found ways to reinvent Monster Hunter, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, like every single iconic franchise that they've gone back to since roughly 2016 has been just the best iteration that it's ever possibly been. So when Street Fighter 6 was revealed last year, people were excited because it had been a long time since a Street Fighter came out. Street Fighter 5, I think, was 2016, but it was a PlayStation exclusive. It launched very content light, and it was this sort of like, ongoing game. It ended up being a very big, robust package, and people ended up really loving it. But the launch of Street Fighter 5 compared to Street Fighter 4 especially wasn't the same. Didn't have the same fanfare, didn't have the same reception. But then we got a glimpse of what Street Fighter 6 was going to be. And Street Fighter 6, it looked flashy, had so much style, so much character. It had the dumb emotes where you can make stupid faces during the loading screens. They had just seemingly had all of this detail. So I handled the review for Windows Central this week of Street Fighter 6. I dropped a link in the description if you want more details, but I'm going to share my thoughts overall for it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. But Street Fighter 6 is, it's such a fighting game. I've always loved Street Fighter. It's been, outside of Super Smash Bros., what I would say my main fighting game is. That being said, I played a lot of Street Fighter 4, loved Street Fighter 4, didn't play much Street Fighter 5. I liked it, recognized that it was good, but I didn't have the patience to wait for the game to evolve into the full package. Street Fighter 6 comes out of the gate way stronger. Way stronger. It has a 20-hour RPG campaign, which is, I don't know why, it's not something I ever would have expected, but there's a semi-weird open world campaign that's pretty much if you took Streets of Rage and made it a Street Fighter RPG, so you can train under the different masters, Ken, Ryu, Blanca. You can learn their moves by training under them, and then you can make your monstrosity avatar, bring that monstrosity into this campaign, and just live out your fighting fantasy. And it's not the best. It feels a little bit dated in terms of the flow of things. It's a little bit repetitive. It honestly feels kind of like an MMO. If you've played Dragon Ball Xenoverse, that's the easiest way I can describe it. It's very MMO inspired, but it is a single player campaign. And then it has the best training mode this series has ever had. It has arcade mode. It has extreme battle mode. It has a solid roster of 18 playable characters from the jump. The experience overall is just, it's made me fall in love with Street Fighter again. Like I'm all in. I'm getting ready to pre-order that 8-bit do or 8-bit do.
I did it
stick.
yesterday.
Yes. Saw that for Xbox. Because Razer announced some sick Street Fighter 6 themed fight sticks that look amazing. But PlayStation and PC only. And I was like, no. And then sure enough, 8-bit says, yo, here we go. We got you, fam. And so that's coming out very soon as well. So, Boom, I know you pre-ordered it, but have you had a chance to dive in or watch anyone play Street Fighter 6?
I've watched some play, and I normally don't like to watch games, but because I didn't have the time to play and I knew we were going to talk about it, I did watch it. First of all, I got to tell you, a lot of people don't know this, and you mentioned something really interesting. Capcom has been hitting in a way
Woo!
that has, it's a streak folks, that we haven't seen from any publisher in a very, very long time, especially in recent years. Now, you mentioned 2016. A lot of people don't understand this. That Street Fighter V deal with PlayStation came to be because they were going to file for Chapter 11. They were on the ropes, folks. Capcom was on the ropes, and they had made two deals, one of which was Street Fighter with PlayStation and Dead Rising with Xbox.
Yes.
And those games don't get produced unless they make those deals. And Street Fighter, at I mean, we got to call a spade a spade. Street Fighter Five, it turned out eventually, like Halo Master Chief Collection, to be something very special. But it was the worst selling Street Fighter in the franchise history. And now you fast forward. First of all, the mistake that was made was, and it wasn't really Capcom's fault. They were a bit desperate. This is now a multi-plat. Street Fighter 6 is now on Xbox. It's on PC. It's on PlayStation. Almost immediately, you have to marvel at the graphics because the characters look so good that you almost feel like you can reach into the screen and pull them out as an action figure. That's how robust these characters look. And I think, again, I have not played it yet, but my 8-bit Ditto wireless fight stick will be here next week, which is what I'm going to wait for. I just got the notification from Amazon. I got the one that is in jet black because the one in white is nice, but I like the jet black one as well.
Yeah.
That's the one I want. That's the one I went with, and it's wireless. And they really know how to make a good controller. I have several of their classic controllers, and the wireless aspect, there's almost no like stutter in between. You putting an input in and it being on the screen, which is fantastic. Which is why, because you say, because I actually have. I put a picture out on Twitter. I don't know if you remember when Killer Instinct was released.
I saw. Yes, I did see that picture. Yes,
I have that stick, dude. I
Yes,
also
dude.
have the Street Fighter 5 limited edition PlayStation 4 stick as well. I have both of them. I have one for each console. I'm a huge arcade fighter. So again, even though I haven't played it yet, I gotta tell you, man, how fast the game is. I've seen some moves, and I'm like, there's no way these 52-year-old hands are gonna do any of these moves that these kids are making. But man, it looks really. I cannot wait to get into it. I'm gonna jump into arcade first because that's where my heart is, and then I'm probably gonna get into the story mode. And my character he's gonna have a mohawk for sure. That's what I'm rocking. So there's no doubt about it.
Yeah, that's what the character creator in this is, one of the best.
Okay.
I've been sharing pictures online of some of the absolute monstrosities I've seen in the Battle Hub and some of the horrifying creatures. And it's what I love about it is your character, all of the parameters you put in, your arm length, your gut size, all of those things dictate your hitbox and hurtbox. So my buddy was trying to make a really just the ugliest troll character he possibly could, and his gut stuck out further than his arms, so he couldn't punch anyone because his arms didn't go past his gut. And so
that is hilarious, dude. You know what? I have a question for you. This is your show, but I have a question for you.
Hit me.
And I have a question for the chat. Who is your all-time favorite Street Fighter?
Ooh, that's really tough. I mean, Ryu is iconic. Like that's the fighter that made me fall in love with Street Fighter. Just the badass fireball warrior, the traditional gi get up, just that is the character that made me fall in love with Street Fighter. But my all-time favorite Street Fighter character is Cody. And that's a character
that's a strong one, dude. I would have never picked that for you, to be honest with you.
And so that's the character I hope. It's not part of the year one pass. They've already detailed the 4 characters coming with the year one pass. But there's a lot of like enemies in this game throw knives and throw bottles. There's a lot of moves already baked into the game that could be for Cody. When I see that, I get excited. What about you?
Right.
What about you?
Oh, dude. Super easy. And he's an offshoot character. E Honda. is my
Ooh.
all freaking time favorite character. Yeah, yeah, yep, yep. Think about the size of this man who shoots himself across the screen like a rocket, and of course the 100 hand slap. My brother, who his favorite, it's Neo Mentos, my brother. His favorite character is Blanca, and the battles that we had on the Super Nintendo,
Oh yes,
they're
dude.
freaking legendary, dude. We both had I remember that, if you guys remember this, the ASCII stick. You had the battles that we had, dude, were just legendary. E Honda versus Blanca. Those E Honda, my favorite character. My second, if and it's close, I'm a big Akuma fan, dude. Like, I just
Ooh.
love when he
Akuma
would
is the
turn his back and to you, and it would just glow with the Japanese writing. Oh my god, epic, epic, epic.
he's the Shadow the Hedgehog of the Street Fighter universe. He's the goth kid. Every 13-year-old growing up saw Akuma and was like, oh man, he's so freaking cool.
I want to be like him when I
I
grow
want to
up.
be
No,
like
you
him.
don't.
He's edgy. Yeah, so Akuma, he is confirmed for the year one pass, which makes sense. He's gonna be the
Yes.
final character of the year one pass. But yeah, you can't have a Street Fighter game anymore without Akuma. He is such a
Yeah.
staple character in this. You bring up this fight stick, and I can't wait to get a fight stick because I've been getting some sweaty matches in, but I'll try to show you guys how I have to hold my controller. So I hold it
It's
normally with this
weird.
hand,
Yes,
and
it's
then I have to
weird.
crab claw the top facing buttons like this. This is how I'm playing Street Fighter because otherwise I can't do the badass combos in the battle hub, and so I have these edge lords I'm fighting that are just clapping my cheeks, and then so I have to get in gamer stance and hold the controller like a maniac to like be able to do the inputs fast
And then you
enough.
have to go to the hospital for carpal tunnel.
Yeah, and then yes, carpal tunnel just devastates me, and my fighting game career is over because I
Oh
was just too
man.
cheap to get a fight stick. All right. But no, I'm excited. Street Fighter 6, amazing. Feels so good. If you are playing it or plan on playing it, you can add me on the Battle Hub, which is the online network. My name is just Miles. I was able just to get Miles.
Oh, nice, dude.
And if you want to
Nice.
join we have like a little club, which is like their clan called the Beatniks. So that's
Oh,
there as
that's
well.
really cool. I like that.
So
Unusual. Now, listen, I want to ask you a question because I know that it was brought out, and I didn't know this, that the code for online is actually being used. Microsoft tech is actually being used for that, correct?
So yeah, it's got rollback netcode, which is huge, but it's using Azure. So, but you're seeing that more and more. Like Microsoft is partnering with most online games. Like a lot of big online games are using Azure, which is cool,
Yeah.
which is good for Microsoft. Keeps them, in people's minds. And yeah, the rollback netcode is the big thing because I've been playing, and even when the connection isn't great, even when the connection between players isn't like the full green bars, I've almost
Mhm.
had zero lag, like noticeable input lag or
Awesome.
player lag. So the experience online so far has been really, really good, which is, again, if you are a competitive fighting fan, you want as little input delay and lag as possible. And so far, it's been good. I've played people with 1 bar of Wi-Fi, and it didn't really lag for me. So
Nice.
yeah, let's go. A couple super chats before we talk about Diablo 4. Again, shout out to everyone here. Having fun, having a good time. We got Nick W says, would love if you guys would rank all of the Diablo games. Woo! Rank all the Diablo games. I'll give it to you real quick. I'm not going to include 4 yet because I don't know. I'm not deep enough to know definitively where Diablo 4 is going to stand. But of the original 3, it goes Diablo 2, number 1, Diablo 3, number 2, and Diablo 1, number 3. Hearing that out loud, it probably sounds confusing. But what about you? Do you have an all-time favorite Diablo?
Well, I never played Diablo 1. I wasn't a PC guy. Tried Diablo 2, did not like it because I bought it on Xbox. I was like, yeah, this is dated. I don't really care for this. Mrs. Boom and I ran through Diablo 3, I think twice, and we quite enjoyed it. 4, again, we played the beta, and there was a lot of things that we didn't like about the beta, especially when it came to, like, I talked about it in the beginning with the camera. I'm not a big fan of that. But now I know that you can move the camera closer, which is how we normally play because we are huge fans of Baldur's Gate. Like Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, the remakes for Xbox. we 1,000 out of both of those games. We got every achievement in the game. And this is an OG one. I don't know if anyone remembers during the PlayStation 2 days, there were two games called The Champions of Norath 1 and 2.
Oh, that's a deep
They
cut. That's a deep
Dude,
cut.
those my Mrs. Boom and I played those for hundreds of hours and beat those at least half a dozen times each. So I can't speak on Diablo 1, never played it. 2, didn't really care for, but we did play the heck out of 3, and we do have 4, so we're gonna get into that.
Yes, Diablo 4 is out now if you're willing to throw down $100. It officially
Yeah.
launches on Tuesday for everyone. It will be
Mhm.
one of Activision's $70 games. They've transitioned to that format, but the early access period started on Thursday. Thursday afternoon, players could dive in and experience Diablo 4 in all its majesty. Reviews, much like Street Fighter, dropped on Tuesday. A lot of glowing reviews. Jez from Windows Central gave it a 5 out of 5. We've
Yep.
seen a lot of other outlets talk about it being an obvious game of the year contender. So there was a lot of huge buzz and momentum from the reviews earlier this week, combined with the very positive reception of the open betas and the closed betas. And this lead up to launch has been seemingly very positive. And another thing that we need to talk about is the launch state of this game, because it's an assumption that a big, massive online multiplayer game in this day and age will struggle out of the gate. Whether it's server issues, whether it's bugs, whether it's glitches, whatever the case, we assume there's going to be problems with big multiplayer games, especially for something like Diablo that's transitioning to it's a full-up MMO. Diablo is an MMO now. And so they're going to that formula. Everyone assumed that those servers would be a nightmare. I remember the open beta, the first open beta they did. I jumped into the queue and it was like, your wait time is 180 minutes. And I'm like, I'm not waiting that long. I'm going to go do something else. So I'll be honest. Thursday, I was talking to some friends and we were like, yeah, we'll dive in. Or actually, our plan was we will start the queue and then we'll play something else while we sit in the queue for a while. Thursday at 4:30 p.m., 30 minutes after it went live, I had an under 1 minute queue. I was in that game in 30 seconds and it blew my mind because I'm somebody who lived through Diablo 3's launch. And Diablo 3's launch was again, it broke records. It was an absolutely juggernaut game, so it's understandable that there was some server strain, but that was a bit of a nightmare trying to get in. And you would wait, and then you would get in, and you get disconnected. There would be an issue. There'd be a BattleNet server issue, and you get disconnected, and then you'd have to go back into the queue, wait another 30 to 60 minutes just for a taste of Diablo. Diablo 4 has been it's been wildly smooth. It takes me back to Halo Infinite, where we all assumed it was going to be a nightmare. We all assumed it was going to be awful on day one, and it's just tight. It's polished. It's smooth. And that's, I got to commend Blizzard because they did it. They launched a big online multiplayer game, and it's cross-platform from the jump and everything. It works. It works, Boom, and that's a miracle. So I want to hear more about your impressions of the beta, because I know you haven't had a chance to really dive into the full game. But before I share my thoughts, where are you at? Because talking before the show, it sounds like you were a little bit iffy on Diablo 4 overall.
Yeah, I mean, we were coming off of playing, just finishing Baldur's Gate 2. And we again, it's a remake of something that's incredibly old. So we Diablo 4, beta. I'm definitely going to get into this. We got up to level 8. We played it for a couple hours. I think I have 3 or 4 hours worth of footage recorded. I even played it on some of the shows. And what wound up happening is, I mean, obviously it's a beta, so not everything is complete.
Yeah.
Not everything is available for options. I didn't know you could pull the camera closer because one of the biggest issues for us was we have a 65-inch TV with all the bells and whistles, and it looked like we were playing as M&Ms. And I was like, yeah, I don't really like that.
You got the
So
binoculars on your couch? I'm
yeah,
like, okay, there.
it's
There.
crazy. Yeah, so I canceled my pre-order. I was like, yeah, I'm just not going to get into it because we really enjoyed 3, and I know that they went away from the 3 mechanics and some of the things about 3, and it was more like 2, and I didn't like 2. So I was like, okay. And then I tried the second beta, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna pre-order this. I don't think this is gonna be bad. Someone was like, no, boom, you can move the camera. There's a lot of things you can do for controls. I'm like, okay, now that I know we can do all of these things, we'll take time, we'll design our characters, and then we'll set up everything so it plays like how we enjoy playing these games. So we haven't gotten into it yet. Mrs. Boomstick had a heck of a week, so we didn't have a chance that when it came out to jump into it. Even though I bought the play early edition, I don't that doesn't bother me at all. We're very interested to and hopefully and we're keeping a positive mindset on it to enjoy what everyone else is enjoying, because like I said, I've seen some of the magics, especially for the sorcerer, which is what Mrs. Boom uses, and I was like, whoa. Like, they had something with this dragon that came over the whole screen, and I remember I kind of got a feeling like when I first saw Knights of the Round in Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation, when I was like, oh my, what is happening on the screen? I can't believe it. So we're definitely gonna get into it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of flashy visuals. Even some of the
Yeah.
early footage that we saw, they clearly spent a lot of time with the magic and the particle effects. And one thing that I've really appreciated is, I'm playing as a druid right now, and first and foremost, you have this disgusting animation that I'm gonna make a video of it online, because you see the transformation from human to beast, and you see the flesh and fur manifest over your body, and it's a really gross animation. It's really convincing, and it's really well done, but they apply that to poison effects and fire effects and ice effects. So when you attack an enemy with poison, their skin melts from their bone, and when you catch them on fire, their skin and fur gets charred. So there's a lot of really great physics details, a ton of really great physics details in Diablo 4 that I really appreciate. I also love the art style. Diablo 2, like I said, my favorite, because it felt like a horror game. Diablo 1 and 2 especially felt like true horror games. You would turn a corner, and even though it was an action RPG, you would see something and you would turn around and run. I remember encountering the Butcher for the first time in Diablo 1 when I played it on PlayStation 1 in split screen. The ideal, the peak way to play Diablo. And I remember opening the door to the Butcher the first time, and me and a friend were just like, nope, and just turning around and running, because we're like, oh my god, what on earth is this? And so for me, Diablo has always been at its best when it respected its horror roots. And so when I saw that Diablo 4 was going back to that art style, I was very excited. I've been loving my time with the full game. But when I played the beta, I wasn't loving it. I wasn't nearly as high as a lot of people were, and I was honestly a little worried, because Diablo had been such an important franchise to me, and it's always been the staple co-op game. I didn't like the transition to the MMO. I really didn't. Like, it to me, it really disjointed the multiplayer experience. Like, you have to go through this intro prologue before you can even play co-op, and then when you get into co-op, a lot of people have to interact with NPCs individually to progress their own stories around, and it felt like Elder Scrolls Online, where it was a single player game that you happened to be playing with friends. And that's the trap that a lot of MMOs can fall into. So initially, when I played the beta, I was like, man, this doesn't feel as good as 3 in terms of just being a co-op game. And it didn't feel as good in terms of moment-to-moment gameplay as Diablo 3 from the jump. Because when you played Diablo 3 for the first time, it noticeably felt better than Diablo 2. Even though I didn't like the art style as much, even though there are some complaints with the RPG systems of Diablo 3, Diablo 3 feels better than Diablo 2 in every way. And like you said, Diablo 4 kind of goes back a little bit. It goes back to a fusion of Diablo 2 and 3 in some ways. So early game, when I was playing as the Druid, I was like, this feels slow. This feels slow. The combat's not that engaging. You have a dodge that you can use every few seconds. But as you get deeper, the gameplay gets richer and richer. So you can get more dodges, you can get more active abilities, and it becomes this better dance of what the gameplay can be. So I think the early hours of Diablo 4 aren't a great representation of what Diablo 4 is in the long term. So the more time I spend with Diablo 4, the more I end up loving it. So I'm very happy with, the time I've spent so far, and I'm really eager to see where I'm at, because I'm 14-ish hours in right now to Diablo 4, and I'm level 34, I want to say, with my Druid.
Wow, nice, dude.
But yeah, overall, I'm happy. I'm loving it. Been playing with a friend. We're gonna have some more friends jumping in on Tuesday, and that'll be the real test when we get the full squad together, progressing through the story mode. That'll be the test. And I've heard mixed things about the story mode. I've heard if you just mainline the story mode, you can wrap this thing up in 10 to 12 hours. Like the core campaign is very, very short. And since everything scales, you can theoretically just blast through it. But that being said, I'm still in Act 1, I think. I've only done a handful of main story quests because I just keep getting caught up in side quests and world events and dungeons and cellars and exploring the map. So the game is dense. The game is very, very dense, and there's a lot of reasons to explore. So yeah, I'm, like I said, 14 hours in, and I've only done a handful of main story quests.
Nice, nice. Have you taken advantage of like maybe going to KFC and getting, you know, like the DLC and stuff? Because they've made a lot of deals, dude. Like I see people like, hey, I got my KFC, you know, staff or whatever, you know.
You know, no, I'm not to throw shade at anyone here. All right, if you're a KFC fan, that's fine. No disrespect. I can't stand KFC. Like I love me some fried chicken, but every time I go to KFC, I feel awful. I feel so disgusting. So I think KFC personally is vile, and there is no amount of pre-order content that would convince me to spend money at KFC. But that being said, I love a good cross promotion. I love a gimmicky like flaming sandwich, like a hell spawn chicken sandwich. Like that would almost get me to go just for the novelty of it, just for the gimmick. But yeah, KFC, and KFC's also on my my list because we played this old vintage KFC Double Down commercial on the show several weeks back to talk about this promotion going on for Diablo 4 and KFC.
They flagged your content because of it.
They took it down, took down the video. It was this whole thing. I was like, man,
wow,
KFC.
Dirty.
So KFC's on my list.
Sorry for bringing that up. That's some old wounds. We don't want to open up.
That's a touchy subject.
You know what? Before we move on, I want to say this because I don't see enough people talking about this, Miles. Can we give credit to Rod Ferguson? I mean, here's a guy that was known. I got a chance to meet him in person in 2019. He's an unbelievable gentleman. When I tell you, stopped to talk to me about Gears 5. You know, I even kind of poked him a little bit, like, hey, is it open world? Well, I really can't say, but it's not open world, you know? So I had fun with Rod. And, you know, obviously when he left Gears, when he left the Coalition, I gasped. I was like, wow,
no, my boy, my beautiful boy, Rod. No.
Yeah, I'm shocked. And, you know, when we found out that he was going to Blizzard, I'm like, oh, to Blizzard. Like, this is, wow, really? And then when he was announced as working as one of the leads in Diablo 4, I was like, I don't see the transition. And he just celebrated a birthday literally when the game went launched, which is pretty cool. And it just goes to show you that dude is talented through and through. And obviously, he was a big part of the foundation, the Coalition. He left Microsoft. Now he's back with Microsoft because, you know, the deal is going to go through. So that's hilarious how it's full circle. But shout out to Rod Ferguson and the entire team. Like, I mean, for everything that I've seen so far, it's a triumph. And I honestly cannot wait to see what the numbers are for this game in a couple of weeks. You know, you'll get someone in the community to put the numbers in. Benji sales are probably like, hey, it sold 18 million copies because Benji's amazing, and he's always out there with the numbers. But I'm happy for the team. I know you talked about the launch of 3 not being so great. I did see some issues though with a lot of people, with a lot of licensing issues. And at first it was just PS5, and everyone's like, oh, you see, Microsoft stuck it to the PS5 users. It turns out that was across the board. That was PC, that was Xbox, and PlayStation. I'm glad they got that sorted.
Yeah, and I will say one thing to note for Xbox players. The early access does not work for console sharing, unfortunately. Most games, it flies, okay. But that's been something I've seen people complaining about. It's like, oh, I'm getting a licensing issue for someone else. But a lot of those have been people doing console sharing, which, again, if you're in the Xbox ecosystem, if you like me and my wife, we're accustomed to that. I buy a game, we can play it together, and that's just sort of the experience. And again, I think Xbox should have options in place for consoles that are in the same house, But
especially in the same house, which is
that's just me.
ridiculous, right?
But I know there's
Yeah.
like fail safes, and people will exploit the system, blah blah blah. But I'm not. I'm a person with 2 Xboxes in my house. All right. That being said, if you are doing console sharing, the early access period doesn't work. It's not going to work. You have to wait until Tuesday for that secondary console, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But yeah, shout out to Rod. Rod is now involved with 2 of my favorite franchises of all time, Gears of War and Diablo. And he's delivered some of my favorite entries in those franchises of all time. So yeah, shout out to Rod. It's been awesome to see Blizzard have just a very positive release, because again, a lot of us are legacy Blizzard fans, but there's been so much negativity and, well, quite frankly, a lot of unfortunate news coming from the Blizzard camp, from leadership, from the business side. There's been a lot of stuff that's made me, as a longtime Blizzard fan, a little disappointed in what the state of the company is. They put out poorly received games. They put out, the Warcraft 3 remaster felt like just a cop out in a lot of ways, like a half measure in giving fans something that they want. And so there's been a lot of stuff that's made me skeptical of Blizzard, and I think a lot of that's justifiable. And so for Diablo 4 to come out strong and be solid, it's kind of sets hopefully a new tone for what the future of Blizzard's going to be. And again, as a Diablo fan, it feels really good to have a game that's just unquestionably great. It's just a great game, especially if you're those people who've been saying, I just want Diablo 2 but shinier. This is it. This is Diablo 2 but shinier, and they made it an MMO. So boom, there you go. That's what the fans have been asking for a long time. And again, part of fostering and nurturing a franchise is finding that balance. My one piece of criticism that I will say for Diablo 4, it doesn't innovate in any way. And it doesn't have to. It's still a great game, but it is World of Warcraft, Diablo 2. It's what made Diablo 2 great with what makes World of Warcraft great, and those elements come together in one game. So that being said, if you love both of those things, you will love this. You will absolutely love this. It feeds you. It feeds you that experience. But it doesn't do anything new, really, in the space. None of the like when Diablo 3 came out, the physics were elevated. There was all these systems that were elevated. There was the Witch Doctor, which introduced all of these things we had never seen in the Diablo universe. All of the characters here are familiar characters. A lot of the moves are familiar moves. So, it's nostalgic in some ways, but it doesn't push anything forward. Again, it doesn't have to, but that's my one big piece of criticism surrounding Diablo 4, is it doesn't do anything new to really stimulate stimulate me as someone who likes when I'm surprised by a game.
Okay, that's fair.
All right, we got to give a shout out to the 200 people joining us live for Xbox Chaturdays. If you are having a good time, hit that like button, share it out. If you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button as well. We're on the road to 5,000 subs. Been super stoked about all the growth and support on this channel, and it's been awesome to have my own little pocket to rant about KFC or whatever I want, all right? Without big media breathing down my back. Super chat from Jacob Novik. It says, my Xbox predictions, and I won't be mad if this is accurate if we don't see them there. Starfield, Avowed, Hellblade 2, Forza Motorsport, Fable 1-3 collection, Gears 1-3 plus Judgment collection, and a tease for Gears 6. Yeah, like I said, won't really be getting into my official predictions today, but if you want to check out my official predictions, you can watch the last episode where we kind of go through all of that gauntlet there. The next thing I want to talk about is another big third-party publisher. We've praised Capcom. Capcom right now in the eyes of gamers is the golden child. They're doing everything right. They're paying their employees better. Their games are selling gangbusters. They're just putting out stuff that people want to throw money at. A big third-party publisher that's not in that same position when it comes to optics within the gaming community is Ubisoft. They've had a weird several years. They've had to delay Skull and Bones time and time and time again. The Prince of Persia remake that they announced, they had to come out shortly after and say, oops, we're actually starting development over on that. Beyond Good and Evil has been in limbo for years and years. So there's a lot of weird developments surrounding Ubisoft. They put out games as a service titles like Hyperscape or Hyperspace, I forget the name, that just flopped. Just came out of the door and had no impact. They have things like X Defiant, which we don't really know. I've heard positive reception about the gameplay from playtests, but people on the outskirts are very skeptical of X Defiant. So there's been a lot of question marks with Ubisoft. And so one question as we, in the Xbox community that we really fixate on every single year is, what Xbox needs to deliver with their big annual showcase, what they need to prove to fans and what they need to prove to skeptics. But I kind of want to have that exact conversation with Ubisoft, because
Yeah.
really it seems like Ubisoft right now has a lot to prove to fans, because it's been a weird time. So Ubisoft Forward is coming up. And on June 12th, quote, the publisher will feature an exclusive look at upcoming Ubisoft games, including Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, The Crew
Mhm.
Motorfest, and more. So they have confirmed that we'll see Assassin's Creed Mirage, Avatar, The Crew Motorfest, and then additional games. So Boom, where are you at with Ubisoft right now? Have you been happy with their output? Are you a regular Ubisoft supporter, or are you kind of a case by case?
I have been a fan of Ubisoft for years. I buy every gold edition of every game that they pretty much launch. The Division, one of my favorite new IPs of last gen. Um, put over 1,000 hours into the first one. Put not as much into the second one. I enjoyed the second one. I didn't love it as much as the first one. I hate what they've done to the series. I hate the idea that they're trying to make it this, free to play shenanigans. Just make a good game. Assassin's Creed, Valhalla, dude, I did not like it at all. I put a significant amount of time and it always felt like a chore to play. Um, the one before it, oh my god, what was it? Odyssey. One of my favorite Assassin's Creeds of all time. So when I saw Valhalla, I was like, okay, here we go.
Let's
We got
go.
Vikings. This is gonna be great. And I was like, after like 30 hours, I was like, yep, I feel like I'm doing the same thing and it sucks. It's not as shiny, it's not as good looking. Everything felt like a total grind. I'm like, and I'm a map guy. So when I look at the map, I'm like, oh my God, all these things to do. I hated it. So they failed on continuing the division.
Yep.
They failed on Assassin's Creed. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, Mirage, I honestly could care less. It is not. It does nothing about this game other than remind me of Assassin's Creed One, the OG, that set off the series. I was like, okay, been there, done that. Not interested. Now I bought the Ubisoft Plus on the Xbox. I have yet to use it. I'm probably going to use it first for Assassin's Creed. At least I don't have to, spend the money for it. I'm very interested in Avatar. I know the game's had some development woes, right? But I'm a big fan of the film, so I'm hoping that they can translate, the film's lore into an amazing game, which is what we're hoping. I'll say this: I think one of the biggest tragedies of last gen, Miles, is how we went an entire generation without a Splinter Cell. It it still shocks me that we don't have a Splinter Cell. Sam Fisher has not existed in a decade. Like, how is that even possible? So we do have an idea that they are in the works of remaking the original, which again they could have done that 5 years ago because I would have taken the original just in Xbox, Xbox, One X and PS4 graphics, and now we're in a generation where the graphics look good. Just give me a remake of the original one, and it's good. And you know what? The other thing is, how long does Michael Ironside have left on the planet? I don't know, but you're wasting time. The guy's voice is iconic. I mean, look, Ubisoft is in a pickle. They're in a pickle with fans, especially fans like me who buy all of like Far Cry is my favorite series. I've beaten every freaking one of them, dude, and I love them. But I gotta tell you, man, wow, they have been in a spiral that's not good. It's almost like instead of a whirlwind shooting up to number one, they're like in a drain going down. So I don't know what this their event could prove, but they have a lot to prove to fans.
They are a publisher that has a lot of beloved IP for a lot of fans. Assassin's
Hmm.
Creed is a huge IP. They have also been the pioneers of the map genre. Again, they get a lot of heat. They get a lot of flack for bloated games, and I've been one of the critics of that. Is I enjoy map games. You know, it's fun, and for the people who want content and want something to play. Like Donovan in the chat here says they put over 150 hours into Valhalla. Yeah, if you want that content, it's there. They pack their games full of so much so you can justify that price tag. If it's $60, it's $70. Well, you can say, hey, I spent 150 hours with it, so that for me that justifies the purchase. That being said, a lot of the decisions of recent year Ubisoft seem to be driven by just what the business necessity is versus the idea of the video game itself. And again,
Chasing trends there is something that
exactly.
they is what they're doing, and ultimately they're really ruining their reputation with gamers. The one thing that we don't like, Miles, is companies that chase trends.
They're quite frankly wasting money because as we've seen, games that come out and get shut down really fast, all of that time that sucks for that team, that sucks for so many people who invested years of their life into a project that doesn't catch on because it wasn't, either properly funded or properly supported, or the idea just wasn't strong enough to succeed in a hyper competitive space. The games as a service space is really crowded and really competitive right now. So you really need to make sure that if you're putting something out there that it's worthwhile, they're still using those resources on that project, which mean those resources aren't going to other games, other projects. And then a lot of their higher profile games like Beyond Good and Evil 2 that people are looking at saying, "Oh man, I'm excited for this. This is maybe the new benchmark of what a Ubisoft single player game is going to be." They're just they're struggling. They're struggling to come out of the gate. And so it's unfortunate. I don't like to see teams fail, but it's really unfortunate that a lot of the noise of the business dynamics distract from the games. Capcom was in a similar situation. You brought this up earlier where they were struggling. They were chasing trends. They were trying to make games that, were just what was popular at that moment in time, and they found themselves in a financially tough situation where, like you said, the hard reality is even though we're harsh on the exclusivity of Street Fighter V, if PlayStation didn't come in and pay for it, that game never would have been made. It never would have shipped. That's just the reality of Capcom at that moment in time. Ubisoft right now it's seeming like they're in like a similarly weird position. They are still very massive. They still have a lot of teams and developers and a lot of big IP, which kind of can offset some of that risk in a way that Capcom of that time couldn't. So there is still hope for a turnaround, and that's what a lot of people want when we look at this Ubisoft forward, we look at the future of Ubisoft. We want to see Assassin's Creed hit for fans of the classic Assassin's Creeds. We want to see Avatar. We just want to see what Avatar looks like and if that's going to be compelling, because we know the movie did numbers. The movie made some money, dude. So maybe they're hoping that Avatar, if it is great and it lands, will also make a lot of money because of that brand association. And hell, if they give us a Far Cry style game in the beautiful setting of Pandora, because that world is stunning. Whether you like the movies or not, that's a fun playground for a video game. That's a fun idea for a video game. What are your expectations for the show? When they say "and more," we know what they're showing for sure. When they say "and more," what could that mean right now for Ubisoft? You talked
There
about
were
Splinter Cell. Are we going to see
Yeah.
a new one? Are we going to see the one they're working on?
I look at this point. There are three games that jump off the page that we need to see. Splinter Cell being number one. I don't want a CG trailer. I want in engine something. At this point, you've been working on this supposedly so long that we got to see something, right? I want to see how they're going to fix the Division IP with a potential announcement of an actual third one. The DLCs and the add-ons and the free content that they've put out there is to me, it seems it's great if you play it every day, but I haven't gone back to two, and I put a significant amount of time into two. Um, and what about an update for the Star Wars game that
That's
they're
right.
making?
Ubisoft signed that contract, baby. They're cooking some
Yes.
Star Wars.
I mean, I don't know if I highly doubt anything is ready to be shown, and that's fine. But give us a CG. See, this is where the CG trailer comes in, and it's not a problem. If a game is 3 years out and you don't have gameplay, that's perfectly fine. Give me a CG trailer to let me know what this Star Wars game is. What era of the Empire is it? Is it Old Republic? Is it New Republic? Is it post New Trilogy? Is it in between the Mandalorian and Empire? Give us or the Mandalorian and Jedi. Give us something. Give us a direction. Give us an idea of who we're going to be playing as. What type of game is it? Is it a first person shooter? Is it going to be a classic third person Assassin's Creed type of thing? Those are the 3 points I want them to hit for the and more.
Yeah, I think the Splinter Cell is going to be a big question mark because that's obviously something fans want to see. It sounds like it is very much early in development, so we don't know what the timeline's looking like. Realistically, I could see maybe a tease for Splinter Cell, but in terms of like a full fledged gameplay, I don't know if it's there yet. But I know that's what
Right.
fans want. They want to see how this game is being translated to a modern player base because there's the stealth genre has changed and evolved, and a lot of people are look at the stealth genre and say you can't really do it anymore. And that's why we saw Assassin's Creed, which was a stealth game, move away from stealth because it's tough. It's a tough sell. It's a tough sell for dummies like me. I'm not a stealth fan. Ew, stealth? No, let me go in guns blazing. I'm a simpleton, all right? I want to shoot stuff. I want to blow stuff up. I want the immediate feedback. I don't want to have to plan a route and get stealth my way through there, all right? So they're catering to people like me. And so stealth fans look at people like me and say, damn it, Miles, you're ruining Splinter Cell. You're ruining Assassin's Creed. But for the fans who want that experience, I want to see a Splinter Cell come out and be that and elevate that more importantly. I don't want it to be, oh, this feels like old Splinter Cell. No, no, I want something to feel like Splinter Cell in 2024 or 2025 or whenever it's coming out. I want it to be an evolution of that. For me at this show, first and foremost, I want Avatar to look great. I want some near-term excitement for Ubisoft because they haven't really been doing a lot for me recently. But I want some near-term excitement. And then for the more, what I want is a new IP. Remember when The Division was revealed and we all looked at The Division and said, that is a cool idea for a video game. That looks like a
Yeah.
compelling idea. I want to explore this world. I want to play this game. It's been a while for me since I've seen a new Ubisoft IP deliver that
Yep.
energy and that excitement. So for me, the and more, what I would love to see more than anything else is a new IP that just gets me excited about Ubisoft and shows me that Ubisoft still has great ideas that they can cook up.
Yeah. I mean, it's strong. I mean, obviously, we're going to get updates to some things that are current. There's not a lot of excitement right now with Ubisoft. So again, I really think that they need to focus on the fans. They need to focus on delivering quality content that's ahead. But they also need to kind of let us peek behind the curtain a bit, and let us see maybe that new IP. Let's see what's going on with Star Wars. Let's see if there's going to be an actual Division 3. Let's see what the next Far Cry is going to look like. Um, again, we know that there's an Assassin's Creed Japan coming, right?
Yep.
We know that that's
Yep.
happening. They've already announced it. I don't understand how it's taken decades to get here and why that wasn't one of the first ones after Egypt that they went to, but it's fine. We're finally going to get the the Assassin's Creed Japan. Do a CG trailer, man. Get people excited for that potential of what epic tale you're going to tell there. They could. I don't know what they actually can do, Miles, to snatch the victory from the jaws of defeat. I don't know. They're in a bit of a pickle, but they need to show. I think right out of the gate there are two that makes you start talking about Ubisoft and it's one is Splinter Cell. That Sam Fisher's got to be there, and he's got to be there in a big way. And again, I'd like to see the Star Wars. Star Wars is still a hot brand. We're coming off of a Mandalorian season that was really, really good, and we have the Ahsoka series coming up. So
Yep.
now Star Wars is in the conversation of people. That's what I like. Those are the two for me. Those are key points that must be here in a meaningful way to get me excited about Ubisoft again.
There's a lot of big publishers that have hurt us over the years. We've had the
Yep.
EAs shutting down companies like Visceral and saying,
Yep.
nobody likes horror. I don't care. We're going to kill Dead Space. And then once Capcom came out and proved that people like horror and horror does well. Oh, yeah, sure. Now we'll do Dead Space. We'll go back to Dead Space now. So there's a lot of companies that, have seemingly cynical business decisions driving the metrics. But we've seen some turnarounds from EA. We've seen a huge turnaround from Capcom. Seems like there's even potential for Konami, which Konami's hurt me bad. Konami's hurt me real bad. Castlevania and Silent Hill in my top 5 franchises of all time. 2 of my favorite video game franchises of all time. You talk about not having a Splinter Cell for an entire generation. We didn't have a Castlevania or a Silent Hill for an entire generation.
Yep.
And now there's going to be 5 Silent Hills, and so I'm still skeptical. Konami, again, still has a lot to prove to people because for a while it just backed away from making video games altogether and milked merchandise and milked marketing rights and milked all of these things that were low risk and high yield. But again, I talk about Capcom a lot because Capcom came out and said that our primary directive is to make great video games. We want games to review well. We want people to be excited about our video games. And that has been a huge financial boon for the company. There's not all these weird distractions with different trend chasing and different initiatives. It's been, hey, we're going to make video games. And when those video games sell, we're going to use that money to invest in our team and invest in making video games. They just bought that or launched that massive premier production studio, which says, hey, we're not going to kick back and just, we're successful now. We could just ride this out. No, they are investing that, and they are investing in video games. And it would be nice if Ubisoft and EA and Konami and all these other big publishers took that advice and did that. And again, there are risks involved with making a video game. There's no guaranteed success ever for a video game anymore. But that being said, there is something to be said about just making great video games as the primary vessel of your business. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see. Now it's time for some Xbox talk. We've been talking about games, we've been talking about Ubisoft, but now we're going to be talking about the Xbox Game Showcase and the things we may or may not see, and more importantly, we're going to be talking about things that we most want to see. Like I said, last week was the official predictions. This episode, we're just going off the rails. It's the Wild West, baby. Anything goes. We're going to have some fun talking about the wild possibilities. And one of those possibilities stems from a potential tease from Xbox this week. And you've seen it. If you've been on social media, this has been a huge talking point in the community. And that is the idea and debate, I should say. It's turned into an outright debate as to whether or not Xbox teased Fable will be at the Xbox Games Showcase 2023. So, if you haven't seen this, Xbox took to Twitter. They released a silly little video, and it shows someone in their house with the camera, and there's a trail of glitter. There's a trail of like purplish blue glitter that goes from where they're sitting all the way through the house upstairs, and it leads to a computer monitor that has the new swirling Xbox Game Showcase 2023 graphic. And it's just like, oh, this seems important. And there's some whimsical music in the background, and that's it. That's what it is. It is a person teasing the Xbox Game Showcase, and there's a trail of glitter. So when I first saw that, I had it on mute, so I didn't hear the music. And my first thought was, hey, this reminds me of the Everwild reveal trailer with the glowing, swirling blue that leads you to the big reveal and the big moment. And then when I looked at the Xbox Game Showcase logo itself, if you look at it, it's got this swirling blue ethereal energy, which for
Yeah.
me was very reminiscent of Everwild. So that's where my head went first. That's immediately where my head went, because last year the Xbox Game Showcase logo was Starfield. It was a nod to planet space. And so this year
Right.
it's definitely a tease for something. That swirling magical ethereal energy is definitely a tease for something. But then people started commenting like, "Oh, hey, Fable has a glowing glitter trail. Fable, that is how you are guided to quests in Fable. There's a
Yes, sir.
literally a glowing glitter trail." And then people were like, "Hey, the music sounds like Fable." Like this is a tease for Fable. Fable will be at the Xbox Game Showcase 2023. Boom, what is your read on this? Because I've seen people go hard left or right on this tease.
There has been a lot of infighting in the community because of this topic, dude. Like I actually had to put a couple people in their place. I mean,
Oh, damn.
3 hours before one of my shows went live, I did as you do, you build your channel, you build your show and you put it out there. And I was accused of clickbait. And
Oh, Boom, are you
yeah,
clickbaiting?
because I simply asked a question, is Fable going to be there? So I had to put a couple people, people in their place, because I'm like, wait a second, I didn't, though you Boom, it was never announced. What are you doing, Mr. Clickbaiter? And I'm like, I never said it was announced. I'm saying that based on my opinion, which is supposed to matter. This is what I thought. Look, here's the thing. Fable, and a lot of people don't know this because some folks were too young to appreciate the original on the OG Xbox. This was obviously where we saw it. And it's an IP that's iconic with Xbox players. We all
Mm-hmm.
know this. It is a trilogy that started out amazing, 2 peaked, 3 for some, kind of dipped a bit. I enjoyed all 3. I beat all 3. I've beaten Fable Anniversary 3 times. I'm a huge Fable fan. Almost immediately, and mind you, I'm in the mix, folks. I'm in social media. I have almost 150,000 tweets. I got a channel that does 5 shows a week. I'm in it. Even with all of that, the minute I saw it, my hype dial turned to 15,
15.
because
We blew past
we
11, dude.
yeah, dude, 11 is long gone, dude. This is remember, we saw
Uh,
a CG tease in 2020, which I still think 2020's Xbox show is probably the best in the company's history. I think it stands out as showing us what is coming and showing us what is further down the road, getting people excited, which is why I'm expecting 2023 to reveal many of those games that we saw on 2020. There's 3 years now removed, Miles. We got to get some updates. And I think Playground Games, who has brought in talent from God of War, from Horizon, from Metal Gear Solid, and these are IPs that are open world or semi-open world games that fixate on a character from a third person story driven view. I'm very fortunate, Miles, to know someone on the dev team who hasn't told me basically anything outside of Boom. When you see this game, when people see this game, they are going to be blown away. And I trust who told me this, and I consider him to be a very good friend of mine. So when I hear that, I'm very excited. Now, getting back to the commercial, I mean, listen, you can look at it. Anything is subjective, right? Comics are subjective. Film is subjective. Someone writes a poem, it's subjective. You're gonna read it and you're gonna say, "Wow, I saw this," and someone's gonna read it and they said, "I saw that," and you're gonna come from 2 different angles.
absolutely. Yeah.
This this tease could be avowed. It could be Everwild. But I'm more of my glass is half full kind of a dude, as opposed to it being half empty. And I said, my God, this has got to be Fable, because again, if there's no music, then you can turn around and say, yeah, it could be anything. But
Yeah.
that Fable-like music, that whimsical, funny type of music, just screamed Fable. And look, I am going to say this. I have the show at a 15 out of 10 right now. And that's my hypeness as an Xbox fan. And I know there's a potential for significant disappointment. So if I'm disappointed, I'm going to immediately blame myself because I put it up on this pedestal. But the reason why I say this is a Fable tease is because of how everything played out. Now, what is it teasing? That is where we get into the minutia or the weeds of things.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, if you harken back to the Phil Spencer interview at Kind of Funny with Paris Lilly and the crew, which was brilliant, Phil came out there and took all the arrows because that's what a good leader does. And it was an unhinged Phil. I'd never seen him like this before. He was very upset for a lot of reasons. He mentioned collections with an S. Now, there's been rumors of a Marcus Phoenix collection being done in Unreal Engine 5. That is something that we all want because I would love to go back and play that trilogy in new updated graphics. I think it deserves it because again, it's introducing new Xbox players to this dude bro gritty chainsaw wielding world, and I think it deserves that kind of treatment. But then I also then flip the coin and say Fable is one of those IPs that is getting rebooted
Mhm.
on with Playground Games, who's known as the Forza guys. It's being developed in the Forza tech engine that is coming the way of motorsport, which we haven't seen we've only seen some trailers. We haven't really seen it fully running. And if that game is not slated for, let's say, I don't know, Miles, first quarter 25, that's almost 2 years away. What better way to get people ready and prepared for a new Fable than taking the original and slapping Unreal Engine 5 on it, or doing a
Mhm.
remake that really takes advantage of the hardware that is currently the Xbox Series X and S. So you can say, well, it could be that Fable is going to be there, and they're going to show us some, the in-engine, gameplay or the world for Fable, and then say, hey, listen, we got one more thing, and they announced a trilogy, which, by the way, is going to celebrate its 20th anniversary next year. So there's a lot
Mhm.
of things pointing at this. I did my detective work here. I got the magnifying glass. I'm looking. So I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff pointing to it. So once I, got over lying to myself about seeing Everwild, I started seeing people talking about, oh, this is the Bowerstone remix. This is a song. Some people are saying this is literally a remix of a song from Fable. And then the glitter trails, and yeah, then I made that connection and said, oh yeah, that is an obvious nod to Fable. You have the glitter trails, which is your quest indicator. You're following
Yep.
that up, like you said. There's whatever is going to be what they consider to be the standout premier game is going to have magical influence. So it could be Fable, it could be Avowed, it could be Everwild. That swirling logo is specific. Whether or not, because some people are coming out and saying this isn't a tease at all, and I'm like, no, I'm sorry. This, I don't care what anyone says. This is a tease of some kind. Whether it's for Fable specifically or not is to be determined, but this is a tease. That logo is a tease. They don't just like, hey, let's put some swirling magic behind that Xbox logo because that's going to look sick, dude. That hasn't been their MO. Xbox has a track record and a history of fun little teases. And again, they have to downplay them because they have to set realistic expectations for these shows. But on last week's predictions episode, Rand and I said that we think Fable's going to be there. And I did think that. We had a lot of stuff pointing to that even before this tease. We had Matt Booty a while ago saying, hey, I want to show
Last year.
Fable. I want to
Yeah.
show Fable, but Playground says they want to wait till it's ready. I want to respect that. So Matt Booty seemingly suggested that it could be shown, but Playground wanted to wait a little bit longer. And then we
Mhm.
had some professional updates that suggested that Fable is in a flighting stage, which means there is some sort of playable version or playable slice of Fable that exists somewhere. And that says, okay, well, maybe that's further along than some people were suggesting. So even before this tease, there were things pointing to some kind of Fable presence. And I was of the mindset that it would be some sort of maybe in-engine tease of some kind, a panning shot of the world that zooms in on a character with some narration and, you know, something to let people know that the game is progressing. There is something to show. But then this tease, boom. And again, I put up a poll. If you're watching, there's a poll in the chat saying, will Fable be at the Xbox Games Showcase? 82% of people right now in this chat are saying, yes, it will be at the Xbox Game Showcase. And when I saw that tweet, I was like, bruh, if this ain't, I'm sorry, because I've seen people like come out aggressive. And again, you know, I won't, they're friends, so I will call them out specifically. Jesse and Nick from Xbox Era. I consider them to be friends, so I am comfortable calling them out on the show. They were pooping all over the fact that this could be a tease.
I have one in there. You know him. You know him well. You know him well. You know where I'm going next on this.
Who?
Jeff Grubb. Jeff Grubby Grubb.
Oh, well, Jeff Grubb's he's having a little fun.
He is having fun.
His meme, if you saw it was basically someone stepping on
the rake. Yeah, I saw that.
And so that wasn't, he clarified on his show, that wasn't him saying Fable won't be there. That was him making a joke that, my God, if Fable isn't there, I'm sorry. Like, again, I want the social team to be able to come out and have fun. But when the tease seemingly is that on the nose for fans, ooh, mama, if Fable isn't there, like, I don't know. I'm of the mindset that Xbox can't be shocked or disappointed that fans are mad if Fable isn't there.
100%.
Like they can't. I'm sorry. Right. Like, again, you should be able to have fun, but also, I don't think that anyone destroys their home in that fashion. That glitter, my God, you're gonna have to burn that house to the ground to be able to
know something. It's funny you say that. I don't have OCD, but when I saw that,
dude,
like, my God, the cleanup.
Dude, I couldn't even focus on the game. My first thought before even video games was, oh my God, dude, that glitter.
They ruined the controller, the keyboard,
that glitter's never ever coming out. And
my God,
the person that did that, they knew what that was going to be, and they Xbox has to pitch those ideas to other people. So I feel like if you're going through that effort, that cleanup process, that mess, it has to be for something, right? Outside of just a fun, whimsical. Because, like I said, it's a tease for something. It is a tease for the show, for what one of the big reveals is going to be. Because they gave us the swirling logo, the animated swirling logo, which we hadn't seen before. So that was our first glimpse at that swirling animated logo. I am of the mindset that I think it will be Fable.
Me too.
I'm ready to be hurt. If it isn't there, then, like I said, it's going to be... Jeff Grubb's meme is going to be apt. Beautifully apt. If Fable isn't there, ooh, mama.
Yeah, it's one of those things that... I listen, their marketing has gotten it right a lot. But let's be fair, Miles. Their marketing has gone awry many, many times. And shout out to Pong Soul, one half of Living Split Screen. He had brought to my attention, I had forgot all about this, that during last year, I think was it last year or 2021, they had teased, Xbox Game Studios Twitter account had teased Fable twice, and it wasn't there. And people like myself who were like, okay, yeah, here we go, Fable collection, Fable something. And you walked away and you're like, what the F happened? I don't understand. You specifically mentioned Fable in the second tweet. You seriously implied that this is Fable related, and Fable doesn't show up. You can't do that. You know what I'm saying? That's a big social media no, and especially if you run a business. So I agree with you. I mean, listen, I think that it is. I think I'm almost positive it's going to be there. I
want to shout out Wandering Dutch brings up an excellent point. Is like the best thing recently is that unlike the last couple showcase, no one at Xbox have been saying temper expectations this time. So that is
and shout out to Wandering Dutch. Yeah.
There are some, again, I like to think about the wild possibilities. And again, when I overhype a show, the only person I blame usually is myself.
Is
Usually,
myself, yeah.
if I come up with unrealistic expectations or predictions based out of the ether, the air, and they're not there, then that's on me. But there are some things of note that suggest that Xbox is confident in this show. Whether it'll be their best show ever, it's hard to say, but they had the specific line in the blog post, which again, some people didn't read into. Maybe there's nothing to read into, but they said specifically, and they've never used this wording before, this is the day you've been waiting for. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
as a matter of fact, Sarah Bond today, this afternoon before we went live, Miles, in a very simplistic tweet, the Xbox Showcase logo with 4 fire emojis. That's it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, it's, those expectations are set high. It's going to be in theaters. This is the first time they're
Yeah.
putting it in theaters, so you can go and you can pay money to go see this show in
I think it's
theater.
like 50 different locations on top of the watch party that they're going to have. So this it has to be big, right?
Like, again, we're not going to see everything. Again, we're not going to see an update for every single big game. But I talked about this last year, and I was ready to get clowned on and clipped out of context. But I always talked about this year, 2023 specifically, being the best case scenario for Xbox's E3 of dreams. When we look at all the previously announced projects, when we look at projects that haven't been announced, there's a lot of momentum and possibility for this show to be one of their best shows ever in terms of just big announcements. And then we had Phil Spencer on Kinda XCast. Essentially, again, maybe we're reading it, maybe I'm reading into it too much, but when Phil Spencer tells you that games are coming in the next few quarters that include Hellblade 2 and then Avowed are specifically mentioned, like, are we I can't imagine a scenario where Phil Spencer says those two games by name and they're not at the show. Again, that would be another just like, what is happening? What are you doing? So there's a lot of stuff pointing to this show being huge, and that's why I think when people saw that tease, they were willing to buy into it and say, you know what? Yeah, Fable's going to be there. So I am of the camp that I think Fable will be there, Avowed will be there, and Hellblade 2 will be there. That's where I'm at. That's what I'm expecting for the show. And I think right now those expectations aren't unrealistic. I think those are realistic. That's realistic. The Holy Trinity, as it were, has the potential to be at this show. And if they can give us a release date for Hellblade 2, they can show us Fable, they can show us Avowed, mamacita, that's going to be a slapping show for me. Even just those 3 things. If I get all 3 of those, I'm good. S show for me. But it's 90 minutes. That's the thing. It's 90 minutes, and Starfield's Direct is its own separate thing. So we got 90 minutes of Xbox games in addition
It's a
to
long time, dude.
a Starfield Direct, in addition to a extended games showcase. I'm sorry, if they can't bring like a huge number of exciting games in that amount of time, then I don't know. I don't know like what to expect moving forward from these shows.
You mentioned something a few minutes ago that I really want to put a needle point on. Now Aaron Greenberg, I mean, what could you say about Aaron? Greeny is just he's one of the
he's
most
a jolly soul.
nicest. I met him in person. He took the time to speak with me for a little bit, took some pictures. Greeny is amazing, right? And he is notorious for the speech that we all don't want to hear.
Temper expectations.
Expectations.
Come on, calm down, guys. Calm down.
Take it easy. Take it easy, Greeny, Mr. Greeny here. Take it easy. You're gonna like it, but just temper it. I'm seeing some things. Sarah hasn't said anything. Bill hasn't said anything. And more specifically, Aaron Greenberg has not come out with the famous or infamous temper the expectations. Everyone that we keep hearing from putting fire emojis, we keep hearing behind the scenes. Like a perfect example, good friend of yours, Jez Corden. He's gone on and saying, "Hey, I know some things. I'm not going to ruin the show. I'm not going to leak, but I'm getting excited." And as you know, Jez personally, that dude does not get excited for anything but mayonnaise. So if he's getting excited I gotta be honest with you. It's gone from 15 to maybe 19 now.
My
'Cause
God, boom! A 19 out of
it's
10.
gonna so,
Oh my God.
I'm very excited. I think Fable's gonna be there. I think Fable has to be there. I can't say see, for me, and again, this is just me, I'm not a marketing guy, folks, I'm just a knucklehead podcaster, I don't have a marketing degree, but I know what the fans want, and I know that you can take 5 minutes of a 90-minute show, if these things exist, right? I'm saying if. You start off with a panning thing, show us the world of Avalon, right? We're looking into it, Albion, and we're looking into it, and it shows in-engine stuff. Maybe it doesn't give us full-on gameplay, like a vertical slice. I don't know if it's ready for prime time like that. I couldn't say. I'm not developing the game. But if you do that, and you bring up Fable, right? And then they cut to the old Fable, which potential collection. I mean, that's hype inducing right there. You know what I'm saying? And they could do both. I don't know if the trilogy is even a thing, right? We don't even know that. We're only assuming. But like I said, it makes perfect sense. And Phil Spencer did say collections with an S, so
See,
take
again,
it for what you want.
yeah, like again, a big theme of this show today is we're having fun speculating about what the possibilities could be and the potential of this show. Because no matter who you are, whether you're an Xbox fan or a critic, there is intrigue and possibility within this show. And that's why a lot of people are really eager to see what Xbox delivers. Xbox has been confident about this show in a way that we haven't seen with previous shows. The second the PlayStation Showcase ended, Stein, love him. All he did, he just said Xbox Game Showcase this date. Like the second. And they're like, okay, that's, a one-off, that's enough. And then immediately there was the graphic of like, bam, all these games are on Xbox.
Yeah.
Like they were primed to, jump on this opportunity to say, hey, you were disappointed in the PlayStation show? Well, guess what? Our show's coming up. And that's that is the energy that they are putting out into the world. Whether
What's also interesting, that I've said on a couple of my shows, historically, Miles, Microsoft has always gone first, and then Sony is allowed and has used to great advantage the pivot. Right? We saw it in 2013 with this is how you share games. We've seen it time and time again. Microsoft does something that doesn't hit with the fans, and Sony, which their marketing is just unbelievable, they take advantage of it. Well, now Sony's show was, if you are a first party fan, as I am, which is why I have a PS5, was incredibly disappointing. For me, the most disappointing was Jade Raymond's game. She has a history of being involved in major monster single player games, Splinter Cell, Assassin's Creed, a few others. And when I saw her game, I was like, wow, that is not what I was expecting at all. So they're ultimately, for PlayStation fans, and I'm one of them, walked away with that show, was like, my God, that was awful. I gave it a 5 out of 10, and it only got a 5 because of Spider-Man. I'm such a Spider-Man stan. But now, Microsoft had over 2 weeks to say, okay, do we add a little bit more? Do we, what do we pull anything? Because Microsoft has done that. Oh, we were going to show this, but we pulled some games. I will say this, Miles. The last thing I want to hear out of Phil or anyone's mouth is that you pulled a game from the showcase. This is an opportunity to take back market share, take back mind share, and really push Sony to the edge. They're on the ropes. Now, they're making a lot of money, but they disappointed their fans. Show the world why you should invest in Xbox, and show and bring the first party quote unquote bangers, as the kids like to say.
Dude, there's a lot to get excited about for this show. I want to give a quick shout out to the almost 300 people here hanging. If you're having fun, hit that like button, share it out. If you are new to the channel, we are live every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Be sure to subscribe. I'm on my way to 5K, making the trek to 5,000 subs. All your subs help out. Um, boom. I will say when it comes to vertical slices and that sort of things, those can't be added last minute.
Right.
But that being said, there are times when things are ready that they decide not to put in the show. And again, a lot of this stuff is cooked and baked months out. Like this takes a long time to prep and process and get ready to play. So they don't have a ton of wiggle room. But I believe that they were maybe a little more concerned that Sony would have that mythical showcase that we are all talking about with all of these juggernaut massive games, and PlayStation been quiet for so long that they're just going to just unleash this hailstorm of just huge games. And they
Yeah.
didn't do that. So now Xbox, like you said, is in a position where they can say, you know what? We know Phil Spencer just came out and had to talk about Redfall and talk about disappointing fans, and this is our opportunity to delight fans, get fans reinvigorated in Xbox, get fans excited about these games that we told you were coming, that we told you to be excited about, that we told you were going to be bigger and better than ever before, and actually deliver demonstrations of what that means. So yeah, this show has huge potential to do that for Xbox. And more than ever, they are poised for the, if we are comparing it to PlayStation, the W, as the kids want. The Xbox fans want the dunking moment. They want to be able to clap and dunk on the loud PlayStation fans who've been screaming about exclusives and big games for a long time. For me, that's not really what it's about. But for some of the fans, that's what they want. They want that moment where all of the Xbox fans are just riding high, because we've seen Nintendo have those recently. We've seen PlayStation have those moments recently where they are the conversation. They are the moment. They are the talking point. And the last time that happened with Xbox was Redfall. And the talking point that we got wasn't a positive talking point. So Xbox fans just want an unquestionable W. And Xbox, I love them. Don't get me wrong. They haven't had the best track record of delivering just
Correct.
W's without asterisks next to them.
Yeah.
So, boom. Fable. Actually, let me go to this poll real quick and see where we're at with the community in terms of will Fable be at the show before I close this out definitively here. Because I have a feeling I know. Yeah, 84%. 84% of people watching who've engaged with the poll say, yeah, Fable's going to be there. I think that's I think Fable's going to be there. I do.
Me too.
I'll come out. I'll take the L. I'll take the L if it's not. And quite frankly, Xbox is at this point is going to take the L if it's not as well. Because people are ready. All right, boom. Some more fun before we get out of here. And I understand we got some hard outs. You got some plans with the missus. The wife and I are going to there's a donut fair in town.
Oh, that's awesome,
this weekend.
dude.
So immediately after this podcast, we're hitting the donut fair. There's an all-you-can-eat donut eating contest.
What is your favorite donut? Let's ask.
I'm old-fashioned, classic glazed old-fashioned donut. Oh, it's so dense. The texture's perfect. It's got a little bit of resistance, a little bit of and then they don't do it. But Krispy Kreme had a Ghostbusters, like limited time donut for Halloween that had marshmallow cream filling. And
wow.
My God, dude. Oh, what about you? What's the go-to?
Jelly with powder, not sugar. Classic jelly, big, hold it in your hand like a sandwich, and just eat. And to match it is always a nice hot cup of French vanilla coffee, and the world is a great place.
Oh man, yeah. So I'm hungry now, thinking like I ate a small breakfast to make room for all those donuts. Like, I'm ready, man. I'm ready for it. But before that, we gotta have more fun. All right, we still have some stuff to talk about. Xbox Game Showcase. We've talked about the potential for the Xbox Games Showcase. Again, these aren't official predictions here. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from the chat. I want to hear from people listening after the fact. What are the things or games Boom or you most want to see from the showcase? Again, doesn't have to be founded in any sort of tease or reality. What do you want? What at the other side of this show? What's going to be the thing that has you just screaming in your seat?
Look, first and foremost, I think again, we've already talked about the opportunity that has been presented by Sony's shortcomings, right? They had a very, very mediocre 2022 for first party. They had an even less impressive showcase last year that kept talking about 12 months and it's Game Pass in 12 months and it's Game Pass in 12 months. And they didn't hit on the 12 months. Now, here we are in 2023. Hi-Fi Rush came out of nowhere. Super, again, in my top three of the year so far. An absolutely astounding accomplishment from that team. The Redfall situation again, folks. I said this before. I put over 50 hours into Redfall. Quite really enjoyed my time. Game is needs a lot of work, but I still had fun, which is at the end of the day why we play games. This showcase is an opportunity for Microsoft, or specifically Phil Spencer and Xbox, to right a lot of wrongs. Um, I'm hoping for, and I don't know if this is going to happen. I would like a year of dreams to happen for Xbox, like it did for Sony. Sony, that year of dreams Sony show was legendary. And
Yes. Yep.
sure, a lot of those games took a long time to get here, but what did it ultimately do? It sold PlayStation consoles and the brand on a dream. Now they ultimately did deliver almost on every one of those, but it was a year of dreams for a reason. Microsoft has to do something where they incorporate the now and the future. And in that now and the future, they gotta talk about their past. And what do I say? What do I say? What does Boom want? The two games that jump off the page that have not been announced, that we know that they have that they have talked about behind the scenes, is a new Banjo Kazooie and a new Killer Instinct. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we get those. There's been some rumors that Bandai Namco is working on Killer Instinct. There's been some talk, I've talked about it myself, that when this deal goes through, Toys for Bob who is the creators of Spyro and Crash, could reinvigorate the series and bring Banjo and Kazooie back, into the fold, which I think that they're missing. Two genres that they're missing. They're missing a fighter and they're missing a cartoon or character platformer.
Yep.
If you're trying to sell Game Pass, it can't be old Dubro shooters. You got to sprinkle some family stuff in there. You got to sprinkle some fighters in there. I mean, Sony has the marketing for every fighter game that's coming out this year.
Mm-hmm.
Killer Instinct is still one of the most iconic fighting games in history. Um, so I want some past characters brought to the present. I want to know what you're doing for the remainder of the year. Is Hellblade in the fall? When is Motorsport? Because we only know Redfall, which we know what happened with that, and we know Starfield is in September. We don't have any dates for Motorsport. Phil said in his interview, Hellblade being one of the next ones. We all think that's going to be in the fall. And then you got to show us the future. We want to, as fans, we want to be excited. See, the thing that most people took away from the Sony show is I have no idea what they're doing in 2024,
Yep.
which is what we all expected to be told. We were expected to say, hey, this is what we got. Spider-Man this year. It's going to be amazing. Insomniac Games, they don't miss. But this is what our future looks like. Next year and the year after, you can expect boom, 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 boom. And they didn't deliver on that. Microsoft has an opportunity to not only tell us about our past, tell us about our present, but show us the future. Take a look of what we're doing next year. Avowed, just name your title, and then further out, 2025, you can expect boom, boom, boom. Give us a look. If they could hit on all 3 points, Miles, it's a 19 out of 10 show.
Boom. Yeah, the big thing that a lot of people want to see, and what I want to see, is I want to see what these games are. For the ones
Yeah.
that are ready, I want to see gameplay. I want to see what this experience is going to be. Like, I'm not against CG trailers for reveals. I think it's an easy, effective way to demonstrate the theme, the tone of a game when there's no possible way to do it in engine otherwise. Like it's just you're getting the game out there, you're revealing it to the world, very early stages. CG is fine. But as we move closer to dates, as things get readier, I want to see the gameplay. But when I look at this show, the things that I want to see, I would love a new Killer Instinct. I would love just a fade to black, and then you hear that guitar lick come in. Chug, 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 and then boom, new Killer Instinct logo. Crowd goes wild. Like even if it's just that, even they're just confirming that Killer Instinct is a thing, I would love that. I want to see Hellblade 2 come out Q4 holiday 2023. That would be a big moment for me, and I think that would be a big moment for Xbox because they would be essentially delivering on that one big game per quarter. If you get out Hi-Fi Rush, you have Redfall, you have Starfield, obviously there's Forza Motorsport coming as well, and then you have a big holiday showcase. Because that's something Nintendo and PlayStation guarantee. They guarantee they have a big holiday game, and Xbox hasn't always done that. They try. Like they had Forza and Halo Infinite, but last year they had nothing. So I think this year a big holiday game, not only for reception of the brand, but also as we get towards the game of the year conversations. You have a game that could maybe be in the conversations, come out towards the end of the year and boost that prestige, if you will, of Xbox. And we know Xbox financially is doing well. They had their biggest quarter ever. Blah, 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 all that stuff that for gaming fans doesn't matter. We want the feeling, we want the energy, we want the excitement. All right, so people can hit me with the boring metrics all day. I understand what the metrics are, and I understand that they're important. But when I look at Microsoft, like how much they're making, I only care when that means the games are going to be better. Otherwise, I don't really care how much Microsoft is making day to day because, I'm not getting a cut, all right? I'm not getting a slice of that pie. I just want them to use that money to make some damn good video games, okay? So, yeah, I think there's potential, again, for Xbox at this show to boost the prestige, boost the appeal, and Hellblade 2 release date, Killer Instinct, and then Everwild. Damn it, I want to see Everwild. Again, I don't know what the state of the game is, but I've gone back and I've been rewatching the first two Everwild trailers, and I know they've been kind of like iterating and experimenting, and we don't maybe know what the timeline is, but man, that would be such a nice surprise for me. Again, I'm not really expecting to see it there necessarily, but that would be what I want because I've just been really fixated on what Everwild could be, especially when they are trying to do this game that is fundamentally unique. They don't want to have a traditional combat loop. They don't want combat to be the main driving loop of the game, and I want to see what that is because we have so many games that are just combat is the go-to. Like that's how you make a game fun.
I'd love to see a multiplayer Breath of the Wild type of situation, right?
Yeah.
You can cook, maybe you can build in this game. And again, maybe it's not going to be for everyone because Sea of Thieves is not for me. I told you that already. It's just not for me. There's going to be people that like that day to day. I want to go into the game. I don't always want to have to fight. I just want to go in. I want to explore and I want to save an animal. I want to cook. And it's a rare game. It can be weird. It can be different.
Let it be weird. Oh, and one other thing. I want to see the Kojima Xbox game, and I want it to be a horror game. If we get a Kojima horror game as an Xbox exclusive,
Overdose, as it's known.
Ooh, mama, that's gonna do some things for the conversations. It'll be just a beautiful conclusion to that saga of Kojima's making Silent Hills. It's coming back. Kojima and Konami have worked out their differences, and he's going to come back and do the new Silent Hill, and it's going to be a PlayStation exclusive. It would be really hilarious on the other side for that to be actually, oh no, it's a new thing, and it's an Xbox exclusive. Kojima's long-rumored horror game is an Xbox exclusive. If they could do that, man, that would be a cool turn of events, I think. I'm going to get to some super chats. Boom, first up, this one made me laugh. Grumble says, "You really asking an ex-cop about his favorite donut?"
I never ate donuts in uniform because of the stereotypical nature of it. I never friggin' did. So yes, there you go.
I was gonna say he'd ask me what my favorite donut was first. Okay, all
Yes,
right,
yes.
yeah.
I brought up the question. So.
Jacob Novik says, if you got the Microsoft wallet, what would you do? Anything. For example, my picks are I would ask Ubisoft to make an exclusive Rayman game, EA to make an exclusive Ty the Tasmanian Tiger game, and go to Sony and buy the Knack IP. Xbox buying the IP is a Twitter meme by some. All right, real quick, boom. You have Microsoft's resources to do whatever you want. What are you doing?
I mean, there's like I've said it. I think I would love to see them take some IPs that they haven't worked on in many many years, especially from like the OG Xbox days. I'd like to see them invest, potentially buy the IP outright because they're having trouble. Phil Spencer has talked about it. MechaSoul. MechaSoul is such an iconic IP that the fact that we don't have one that takes advantage of what they built with one and two is a shame. I like the idea of returning to something like Crimson Skies. Crimson
Yeah.
Skies was freaking amazing. It was an IP, but to be honest with you, if I have the money, one of the things is besides bringing back Killer Instinct's characters are all unique. They're all iconic. They're all mesmerizing when you see them on the screen. If I had the bag, I would take a page out of Epic Games' book and I would say, okay, I have this fighter. I have this fighting game. It has all of these iconic characters. We have Doom Guy. We have Master Chief. We have the Power Suit Armor Guy. They're in the game. We have Joanna Dark as a fighter. And that's all great. Microsoft has incredible IP. But if you look at how Fortnite, besides its gameplay, which is very, very the same, it's the same thing. You fly in a balloon, you fly out, you drop down, you shoot, you get loot, you get killed, you're out. The one thing that they do to the point of brilliance is incorporate IPs like G.I. Joe and God of War and Dragon Ball and Indiana Jones and Tomb Raider. All of these iconic IPs are on the battlefield in a first person shooter, and in some places, a third person shooter. I it's to me, you make this amazing fighting game. You have Bandai Namco develop it, and your guest characters are they take a page out of Epic Games, and they say, yes, we're gonna have Snake Eyes or Storm Shadow as one of the playable characters, and we're gonna go and we're gonna get um, somebody from Dragon Ball to be in this game. And I think that's where I drop the money personally, because what you do is you take the fighting game genre and you turn it on its head, because this is a first party fighter, but then you take all of these iconic characters and you work them into this amazing fighting game. That's where I'd spend the money.
People love crossovers, and it guarantees that people who like that franchise will be more interested. There were so many
Yeah.
people who hadn't played Fortnite in years or ever, who the second Goku was in that game, they're throwing down money. Like, I haven't touched Fortnite, but I'm giving Fortnite $20 so I can be Super Saiyan Goku.
I did that
All
three
right.
times. I did that for three characters. I bought Kratos, I bought Master Chief, and I bought Snake Eyes. And I don't even play the game.
Yep. Second, Ash from Evil Dead was there. Ash, Master Chief, and Goku. Yeah, I'm there. All right, you're getting my money, and that's the power of these crossovers. So I think more companies could lean into it. Obviously, licensing is a nightmare. That's the boring logistics of crossovers and
Yeah.
what makes them
Mhm.
hard, and why some companies don't want to deal with them, because you have to renew contracts, blah blah blah, boring business stuff. But the potential is huge there. For me, I'm buying Capcom, and I'm greenlighting Phantom Dust reboot. Let's go. Michael Rooney says with the super chat, what if Fable is ready to ship after? Look at the time between Horizon 4 and 5. If Fable's ready to ship, that would be wild. That would be
That
if
would
we
be
get.
crazy.
I'm not saying that this is happening, because I don't think that's the case at all. But if we got a Fable release date at that show, my God. Whew.
Yeah. It would be I would think we'd get to the remake trilogy of whatever that remake is going to be. Unreal Engine 4, Unreal Engine 5. I don't know. I would think that would be first. But you just never know. You just never know how far in advance this thing. I mean, remember they what we hear, Miles, the reason why they bought Playground was that they pitched this RPG that wasn't Fable, and Microsoft says, "Can we turn this?" Is what I heard. Can we turn this into a Fable? And Playground was
Oh.
like, "Yeah, we absolutely can."
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. I love that. Charlie Thompson with the super chat says, "Bring back Viva Pinata." Yes,
dude,
I
1000%,
love
thousand
Viva
percent.
Pinata.
That is a perfect cloud game. That is a perfect mobile game. They're getting into mobile potentially. That is an IP that deserves to come back in a big way. 1000%.
JD Gamer says, "Microsoft, invigorate your base. Hold the line. Use it. Give us the showcase of dreams." Panel, what PS franchise or dead franchise do you want to see on Xbox? Boom. Give me two franchises you want to see back on X, revived from the dead.
I mean, obviously Banjo Kazooie, but I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna do a bit of a deep cut. It's a rare game. It launched on the Xbox 360. I thought about it before. Oh my god, Cameo.
Cameo.
I'd love to see Cameo come back. I think she's an amazing character. I think that the world is just gorgeous. I beat that game, and I loved every minute of it. Each of the creatures that you were able to use was just amazing. I'd love to see Cameo come back in a big way.
Yes, Cameo would be great. Mine, Dead Rising and Phantom Dust. And one final super chat from JD Gamer. If you could only have which three acquisitions would you pick from the following? Ooh, IO, Avalanche, Certain Affinity, Level 5, Mistwalker, Sega, Capcom, NetherRealm, TT Games, Crytek, CDPR, and Ubisoft. Wow, that's a list. Three. Boom. What are you picking? What are you picking from those three?
I'm picking the Mortal Kombat creators, NetherRealm,
Yep.
Capcom for sure, and I'd love to see them own IO Interactive. I think that a Hitman exclusive IP would be huge for the brand.
Yeah, buddy. Capcom for me. And then NetherRealm, I agree. Of Mortal Kombat, it would guarantee somebody could make Killer Instinct. All right, if Bandai Namco isn't the one doing it, you got NetherRealm on deck. Let's go. And then Certain Affinity, just because they've been so critical to Xbox
Halo
and Halo and their rumored Monster Hunter-like game. I think that is a studio that's growing, very talented, and very capable. And so I think that's a solid pick just to solidify your output. Keep it consistent, because that's hard. It's hard to find teams that are consistent and can deliver quality games in a realistic timeline, especially in this day and age where games can take 7-8 years and it's just this ongoing endeavor. Boom. I think that's it. Like I said, I got some donuts to eat. You got some stuff to do with the misses. So we are going to wrap this show up. A huge shout out to everyone who tuned in, dropped some supported the channel, hung out with us. Boom. One more time for the folks joining us. Where can they find you?
Super easy on Twitter at Mr. Boomstick XL. And of course, if you want to check out the channel, it's Double Barrel Gaming. That name is derived of my love for the Evil Dead. This is my boomstick, as you would appreciate, Mr. Miles. Double Barrel Gaming on YouTube. We are closing in on 13,000 subscribers, and you could be one of them. And I do I do live content Monday through Friday, and I think you're going to find something that you dig.
Yeah, like you said, like we said at the top of the show, you're doing it 5 days a week. You're out there having the conversations, engaging with the community. Appreciate you. Appreciate the community. Have an amazing weekend, and I will catch you next week as we inch towards the Xbox Games Showcase 2023. Take care, everybody.